Alrighty. Welcome, Harima. Welcome back to the Exceptional Student Series. This is where we celebrate the bold thinkers, the generous leaders, and future shapers who walk through the doors of Academy X and leave the world a little better. It's been a good week for that. We've seen quite a few people come in our doors and leave the world a little better this week, but none is going to be so much fun as today's talk with Cathy Hardinge. We are joined by someone who embodies everything this series is about. Because Cathy didn't wait for permission to lead. She didn't wait for the system to catch up. She saw two major challenges here in New Zealand, the senior digital divide and ageism, and decided to do something about it. Through Digital Seniors, she's built a volunteer-powered movement that delivers free, one-on-one digital support to thousands of older New Zealanders. That alone would be impressive. But Cathy's work goes even deeper, challenging the way we talk about ageism, inclusion, and even leadership itself. She's not just closing gaps. She's flipping the narrative. She joined Academy X's Master of Technological Futures with 4 days' notice and no business idea, and left with a mission that now spans the country. She's been a fearless leader, a relentless advocate, and a powerful example of what can happen when you trust yourself enough to start. Cathy, you are exceptional.
Wow. That's really humbling to hear. I'd like to be here. She sounds great.
That is the most uncomfortable moment of all of these series is I do this
Yeah.
really what I think is just a very clear-cut celebration of your achievements. Everyone's like, who is that? I'm like, that's you. We're talking about you.
Love it, Perrin. Thank you for the amazing opening. That's lovely.
No, you are exceptional. It was easy to script. So I have to start. I think Digital Seniors is amazing, and what you've built in that is really incredible. I think what strikes me as particularly bananas is that you joined our first cohort of Masters of Technological Futures with 4 days notice. Um, wrote your boss and said, I'm out, and no roadmap. Tell me, what made you take that leap?
Yeah, it's quite a wild story, Perrin, and hi friends. It's lovely to have this time with you, and happy to share my story. That was quite a crazy time in my life. I just finished a master's a couple of weeks before, and I was certainly not looking for another master's. In fact, I remember when I first talked to the people at Tech Futures at the time, when they suggested I do it, I said, I'm not writing another word. Because after I just spent, 27,500 words on my thesis, I didn't want to do another
Yeah, my bag of
huge.
words is empty.
Yeah, I was like, no way. Um, but I think that it was almost like I was going along on the ride. There were so many things that happened at the time that I gave into, really. And sometimes I think this is one of my big messages to everybody that might be listening to this is it's not actually leading, your new business and so on, or transforming into something. It's not just about what you think. It's about life making things ready for you. Life is asking you to do it. And that was my situation. So it was the beginning of the year. My boss, who had only been my boss for, I think, 3 months, said to me, why don't we go out for coffee? And I thought, oh, okay, she hasn't done that before. And we sat down and she said, can I give you some feedback? And I was like, oh, here we go. And she said, what I'm about to say is something I've thought a lot about. And then she said, I think you've outgrown New Zealand. And that sounds really arrogant, me sharing this, but it was the point in time that changed everything for me. And I didn't know how to receive that feedback. I didn't see myself like that. I didn't know what to do with it. And so I said that to her. I just said, I think that's crazy. And I said, how am I supposed to take that on board? And then I said to her, what should I do with it? What should I, and she said, go and surround yourself with like-minded people. And I'd
Mm.
just seen Frances Valentine speak up in Auckland at a Women in Leadership Summit. And at that point, when she spoke, she really resonated with me. And when I thought about who I could surround myself with, I thought, oh, actually, I actually don't know many people that are into some of the things I'm into. So I went and found her number and I called her, but she didn't pick up. It was a GM that picked up. And I didn't know what to say. I just said, um, I'm really not prepared for this conversation. I've just had this conversation with my boss. This is what's happened. So I'm reaching out to Frances Valentine. And she said, oh, this is perfect timing. We're just about to start Frances is about to start her first master's, and we've got one spot left. And I said, no, 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 no. I'm not doing that. I've just finished a master's. I'm not doing this, but I am actually really keen to talk more to Frances and yourself about what you're doing, because maybe there's something in this for me. And so in that space of 4 days, we managed to sort of work through things, and I ended up enrolling on the course. When I went back to my manager immediately after the phone call and I explained that this was offered, she said, Cathy, this is what I was talking about. You should enroll in this. And I said, but I've only just started my job. I can't now turn around to my team and say, I'm not going to be here. And she said, why not? She said, I'll work something out. I'll say it. And so it was a long weekend. I talked about it with my husband, and he said, why not? Just do it. So all the reasons for why not started coming down. And I think this is when when you start to see the signs that you might be feeling emotionally one way, but if life is starting to say something different to you, I really think that you should listen to that and act, even if it's scary. So, yeah, so I still remember the first day, like it was a Monday morning, and I'd flown up, and we were all introducing ourselves. There were only 10 of us on the course, and we all introduced ourselves. And I said, this is me, and I'm supposed to be in a team meeting right now. They don't actually know that I've left, and I'm up here now. I don't have anywhere to live, so if anybody can help me, I hadn't worked out how I was going to pay for the course, let alone how I was going to pay for myself over the time, because at that stage you couldn't work and do the course at the same time. So I was doing it full time. So yeah, bit of a wild start.
There's so much to unpack there. I don't know where to start. I love that when when life tells you when you should be listening to your life's messages.
Yeah.
And yeah, so your boss is saying you are bigger than this. You've got to go find people who are like you. And then next thing you know, you found people who were thinking differently to you. Um, did I think that's a core experience actually for a lot of people here at Academy X. We've been thinking about this a lot, is the learning transfer that happens because
Yeah.
everybody isn't from the same discipline or industry or age and stage or even you know community. And so but yet as a result they're all passionate about having a conversation about something, and so that emerges out. And I see that today. Was that what it was like when you first started as well? I mean, did it meet up to that expectation, I guess is the question.
Definitely. I must say I hadn't built up a lot of expectation because the course hadn't existed before and I had
See.
very little time to get my head around it. Um, uh, I've used to be working in big corporates and you see a lot of the same people, you are a role, but you're right, Pierre, in that when you go into this course, that whole construct is not there. And uh, I think it was exciting, but a bit nerve-wracking as well. But when you really started to bond and those
Mm,
relationships really started emerging and you started realizing how special is this? And I was learning not just from the course itself, but definitely from my peers. That was really Yeah, it's such a rich, immersive experience, and your peers have a huge part to play, not just at the time, but you keep some of those relationships years after. Um, and I think something about this master's is very obvious right from the start is, so what are you going to do with it? Many masters in academia are put in a drawer afterwards, or hey, it's really enriching. You develop from it, your mind, you really grow from it. But with this master's, it's what are you going to do with it? And yeah, before I knew it, so much had happened. I'd started developing things so much that actually it would be wrong of me to not continue. And so I feel that the Masters was weaving a net for me as well to, well, I was having to do it. I mean, it's all on you, but that web, that net, I think is something that you take with you and those relationships, that web is always there, a web of support.
A web of support. Tell me that again. Tell me more about a web of support.
So I think, when we are in the Masters and we're just starting to leap out of it, um, quite rightly, our frame of reference and our focus is right at that point. But I really encourage people to look beyond, really push your mind to years later. And this is where the web of support, I think, really helps, because whatever you end up doing and growing, um, you quite often will go back to some of those relationships at the start that will help you on your journey.
Mm.
Whether they are in organizations, they're in roles in organizations that can support you. Um, but that web of support is something that I even took with me into my model. And so when we're in communities, what I found was that charities are very siloed, and understandably so, because charities are competing for funding and so on. So it's the whole charitable system that sort of forces that. But I realise that in terms of senior support services in communities, that even though there were great things, they weren't connected at all. And so I brought that web of support into our model by trying to ensure that we were connected with other services so that we could refer our seniors to their support and they could refer to us. And so another thing I was really interested in was sustainable leadership. And sustainable leadership is about making decisions, not just about the now, but thinking about, beyond, and making decisions that will provide more substance, use resources in other ways for longevity. And so I think a web of support also works together really well with sustainable leadership, and thinking about what are all the supports you need to put in place to support you, to support your model, and these can be enduring.
I think that's fascinating on so many levels. I've never thought of our community as building webs of support, but that will now go into all marketing materials. Um, I just say, Tiana, I own that now. It belongs to me.
You do,
Um,
Karen. It's yours.
just putting that in my pocket. But we do the age group for our students is, our average age is 44, and
Yeah.
which is sort of that beginning that kicks off kind of the longest career period of anyone's lives. What we think of is really from 18 to like 35 as being that kind of starting working area, but where you really hit your groove is 35 onwards. And that's the longest period that you have working. It's like you're in it, you're on the groove. And so many of us, when we, hit our mid 30s and go into our early 40s, I've gone through it, I'm going through it, is going, okay, well, what am I going to be when I grow up? Like I've got,
Yeah.
everything sorted, kind of. I'm faking
Yeah.
it a lot better now than I did 5 years ago or 10 years ago. So I'm not going to say it's sorted. I'm faking it good faker. But what am I going to be when I grow up? And when you are going through that conversation, having a web of support, having a community
Mm.
that is protecting you from that fall, that
Mm.
is there to catch you.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, it. it really rings true from what I see every day here as well and what you're describing. I don't really have a question. I thought I had one, but I don't. And I'm so as we get into digital seniors and we think of that practice, um, you know, let's understand what digital seniors is. I've forgotten my question, so we're just gonna move forward. Sorry, everyone.
All right.
So what sparked the idea of digital seniors and why was this your purpose?
Uh, oh, yeah, Tech Futures can take credit for that one too.
Oh,
Um,
well, we'll take
yeah,
it.
yeah. So everybody will be giving presentations on topics that interest them. And I did two presentations, and after each one, Preeti, who was my advisor, said at the time, "Nah, I don't think you care enough about it." And I thought,
Oh, far
but I
out.
do, because at the time, what I was presenting on was actually on my career that I just had for a couple of decades. And she said, "Nah, I don't think you care enough about it." And I said, "But I do. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been doing my career for all of this time." And she said, "Yeah, but you light up differently when you talk about things that you really love." And, I thought that was really profound and very insightful, because at that stage they'd known me for what, a couple of weeks, 3 weeks. So I did my second presentation, again failed. Don't think you care enough about it. I did my third one. Can you give us something more? And I was like, okay, I really don't know what you're looking for in me. Help me understand, like, because obviously I'm putting all this effort in, but I'm not hitting the notes that you really feel is needed. And so in that conversation, Preeti was asking me questions and probing and really, really getting into me until the point came where it was like this frustration point, and I said, "Oh, okay, it's seniors, all right." And I just started rabbiting on about the stuff, and I thought, I didn't even know it was in me. I didn't even know
Oh
that I
man.
cared about that stuff. But she took the effort to really get in there to uncover what I cared about. And I think that's another really important point, is if you're going to bring something new into the world, make sure it's something you really care about, because you're going to go through times where it's going to be hard. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And so if you don't care about it, you really don't have the fuel or the heart or the emotional fuel to really push you to keep trying. So it was actually Tech Futures that was what it was known at the time, Academy X, that really should take credit for that. Um, and then the second point for me was another part on the journey was I got really quite depressed about what I was researching. I got really
Mm-hmm.
down compared to my first thesis. I was loving it. The energy in me was, I just want to do more and more and more. With the research for Academy X, for seniors, for aging and the senior digital divide, I got more and more down the more and more I researched, until the point came where my advisor said, stop researching, just get out there and talk to people. And so I did. I started talking to people, and you get so much more than your desktop research. And two things that I ended up discovering. One was how much I loved hanging out with older people. I didn't realize that. My world was used to be in big corporates, and I was surrounded in that. But actually, I really, really enjoyed it. The other thing, which was a negative, was the emotional push to do something about it. So there's one thing to do your research, there's another thing to actually commit to actually changing things and doing something about it. And I felt that in a way, sometimes it needs to be an emotional push. It was in my story. It might not be for everybody on this call. But for me, I was talking to a senior, or she was a CEO of a very large ministry. And I said, "Why do you think we're so behind the rest of the world with our support to the digital divide. And she, just to cut a long story short, she said it's a really complicated and complex piece to get your head around. There's a lot of contributing factors, and the seniors that we have now will die off soon, and the new ones coming through will be tech savvy. And that was the push. Ding. Because before then I was thinking, can I do? What can I do? Oh my God, this problem's so huge and I'm one person. But that was the emotional push. And I think for many people on this call is there will be a time in your journey where something will push you to doing something about it, where you won't actually be listening to your self-doubt. You'll know that it's right to do because things that are going on in your life that say you should be. So yeah.
I could see our dear friend and former program lead, Fiona Pons, on the call. And Fiona, I still remember sitting down with you going, "Oh, everyone's got a project in front of them. Our job is to find it. Everyone's got a project inside of them. We just have to pull it out." And that seems to have been the cow papa for a long time now.
Yeah, and look, you're doing an incredible job by pulling it out because people don't necessarily know that it's there. You might have all these other ideas, you might have 10 other ideas, but actually, you have the expertise to know what, you know, whether it's a meh, or yeah, possibly, but, to really fine tune, hone into the what's in there for that person, that's a skill. Because I
Mm,
don't think even the person knows sometimes.
absolutely. And it's a lot better than just waiting for everyone to die so the next lot can come in. That's a pretty like British tobacco view of the world, I have to say. Like
Isn't
it's a
it
Phyllis
shocking?
Morris sort of movement.
Yeah.
We're probably gonna have to edit that part out, but I said what I said. Um, this is fascinating. So, especially, I think this leads into what you're talking about, where ageism is everyone's future, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not like an assembly line, but ageism is everyone's future.
Mm.
And beside, I think you covered it a little bit with the idea that the next ones will be tech savvy. But what do we misunderstand most about that growing? About growing older, especially growing older with technology. Because let's face it, we are on a bananas timeline right now where the technological divide is not just hitting seniors, it's hitting every generation,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, let's go into that.
Yeah, so at the time when I was starting Digital Seniors, obviously ageism was at the bed of the problem. There were many other contributing factors, but ageism was, that's a biggie. And it actually took, so I graduated in, was it 2000 in 2017, I think. 2018 is when I started Digital Seniors. And it actually took a few years for me to really start pushing the ageism thing, which has been quite a recent thing. So last year
Okay.
we held a huge senior tech expo where we were showing older people and their families, look at all this amazing technology that can benefit your life. Um, but also there was a big thing behind it, which is when I talked to all the businesses, we had 65 businesses there. And at the time, I said to my team, am I crazy requiring businesses to sign up to this when businesses are finding it really hard with money and it will cost the businesses to be there because we don't want seniors to pay for this. Um, but the thing, and I'm so proud of them for all signing up to this, was it was when I said to them, we actually have to change stereotypes in New Zealand. You know, we have this view of what aging is, and you hit a certain point in your life, and then you are seen by our society as being no longer of use to society. You're old. You must be bad with technology because you're old. You're no longer like Perrin. You will no longer be Perrin as you see yourself now. You will now be brushed with this brush stroke of old. And um, so I said to the businesses, what if we were to tackle the stereotypes of aging? Let's get rid of those old fuddy-duddy stereotypes and we start putting in new modern stereotypes of aging with technology. And that was the thing that each of them really connected with. And I think there was so much power in that. So you're right that that there are a lot of myths around aging, a lot of misunderstandings. And I wouldn't say that I'm the master in knowing everything about aging, but I certainly have been trying to confront them. There are many myths, and it's not just in terms of aging in general, but we also see it in things like senior workforces. You know, with
Mm,
our country aging, a lot of our workforce is going to be older, but yet there are many deep biases there, and it's so insidious. It's so insidious, not just from society, but also inside ourselves. Oh, at my age, possibly shouldn't wear those shorts. You know, at my age, I really probably need to do a course in this because I'll no longer know, or there'll be others that will know better than me. It's so insidious, Perrin. So we
mm,
actually need to confront those whenever we hear it inside ourselves, but also catch us in the workforce, catch us when we are talking with people in society. We've got to change that because we've been groomed in that way. I've been dealing with an amazing company in the UK, which is saying, actually, the way we've been taught about aging is different than what the reality really is. We can actually start reversing aging. We can still live in our 70s as if we were in our 40s, but we just have to
mm,
manage ourselves in a certain way. We also need to be doing the things that we're told that we shouldn't do. So, for example,
mm.
they're saying the very best thing you should be doing is running, which is quite, quite remarkable, really, when we've been taught, no, 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 you should be slowing down. So this actual topic, Perrin, I could talk for a whole day on it. There are many myths, but um, I think one of the very things at the heart of this is that we're not declining just because we're aging. We can
Mm.
push that decline curve. We can push it right to the end of our lives. It doesn't have to happen over decades. It can happen in the last part. We can still be maximizing our time in our 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, you name it. We can still be going for it. And I would say that most of us on this call will know some people, some examples of what I'm talking about, where they know someone that's older that's going for it, that's not with this old-fashioned fuddy-duddy stereotype that's there. They're already leading the way. We just need to make this more the norm.
I think that's fantastic. So what would you say to someone who's sitting on that fence? They're just waiting for permission. Where does that sit in your philosophy now?
What do you mean? Waiting for permission
Well,
to age or waiting for
well,
permission
you're
to do
saying
something in
age.
society?
Well, that age isn't keeping you from doing something, is what I'm hearing you say. So, what would you say to someone who's like, oh, I don't know, I'm feeling, I'm just getting to that time of life. I'm at that age and stage.
In the future, how we will see a 60-year-old, a 70-year-old, an 80-year-old will be very different to what we see now.
How so?
So, a lot of us are going to be living till well over 100. You look at the longevity market, my goodness, it's going to be even decades after that.
Mm,
Um, wouldn't you be ripped off? Wouldn't you feel bummed to have lived your life as a stereotype of what a 60 or 70-year-old should be now, when actually that's going to be rebranded in years to come, and you could have lived a much more empowered life? You know, you know that saying, we are what we think.
hmm
If we think that we shouldn't be doing something, we won't do it. If we think we
mm,
should be doing something, it's all in how we think about ourselves. At the time when I moved into doing this master's, it was happened so fast and furious that I didn't stop to think about my self-doubt. I was connecting with what everybody around me was telling me I should do. And I think that other people are our biggest cheerleaders. You know, other people see things in us, even if we don't see it ourselves. So for goodness sake, don't listen to those ageist attitudes that you've been groomed to have. Um, don't listen to that. Think about it from what will a future 60 or 70-year-old be thinking? What would they expect that I should be doing at my age? And just go for that.
Just go for that. I could also talk to you for another 27 hours. And
Maybe we
I have
should.
to say, I
Right.
know I'm like, we'll just pit stop and then we'll just get some margaritas.
Oh, that sounds even better. For now,
I
I'll just
I
be happy with my
I
water.
know now just
Oh,
hydrate. You have to hydrate before you have the tequila, otherwise it's a very dark day.
you're very experienced in this, it seems.
Unfortunately, it's the piece of wisdom that's come through. Um, I wish we could have got into more of it. Look, you've had so many powerful things that have been said in this past. Apparently 31 minutes, but has felt like 31 seconds. I think the thing that sticks out for me most about this is, you know, think what you want to do, and make sure that web of support is there so that you have confidence to think that way. And I that just keeps circling around in the notes that I've got from this is with a web of support and the power of positive thinking, get out there and just do it.
There's one more thing to add to that because I agree
Yeah,
heartedly with what you've said. And it was someone said to me at a breakfast who knew
yeah.
me quite well. And he said, God, Cathy, you should, what did he say? Your life from here on in is going to be mighty uncomfortable. And
Mhm.
so I would say if you're going to bring something new into the world, then be prepared to feel uncomfortable a lot. In fact, the majority of your days should feel uncomfortable. That's what you should be aiming for. And if you're starting to feel comfortable, then if you want to be on the edge, if you want to be bringing in something new, I think that's your sign that you need to be pushing further. Just be okay with feeling uncomfortable because if you are feeling uncomfortable, you're transforming.
And that's the type of clarity that shifts mindsets. That is the type of leadership our future needs. Cathy, you are exceptional. And we're so proud to have you as part of this community, our Academy X community, our Academy X alumnus, but also being part of the change that we all want to see in the world. So thank you for showing us how to lead with such care and such conviction and such courage, creating immense action. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for being my support. You're still
Oh,
my babe, you know? Yeah,
pew
which
pew.
is amazing. You'll always be my whānau.
Oh, right back at you, pal. We can't. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. This was great. And next time you're up in Auckland, let me know so I can take you for a
A
margarita and
margarita,
stuff.
maybe?
Margarita
You're
time.
on.
Yeah,
You're
Taco
on.
Tuesdays, baby.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Bye.
Cathy.
Thank
Take care.
you.
Hakite.
Happy day, I know.